Too many believers are working for money instead of making money work for them. Would you agree? Look, that's the problem, okay? If we truly believe in financial dominion, then why do so many of us lack long term vision when it comes to investing and building wealth? Today, we're exposing the mindset that keeps women of faith playing small and showing you how to invest with wisdom, build wealth with purpose, and leave a financial legacy that outlives you. So, after this intro, we're going to get right into it. Make sure you grab your notebooks, your pens, Bibles, all that good stuff, and we'll be right back. Hey there, welcome to Saving and Investing. And I'm 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, saying that financial is not a set podcast. I am your host, Lexi Johnson. We are so super excited to have you here this Thursday. Now, we are behind schedule, right? I think maybe an hour or so behind schedule, but we're here and we are excited about today's episode. Okay. Today's episode is multiplying with kingdom impact. Multiplying with kingdom impact. All right. So I hope by now that you have your notebooks so that you can take notes. I hope that you have your Bibles so that you can, when I mention a scripture, you can go to it and fact check me, right? And your favorite healthy beverage. Okay. I hope you have all of that in front of you. So as we get started today, I want to refer to one of my favorite parables, which is Matthew 25, the parable of the talents. The parable of the talents gives us so many great lessons on investing, so many great lessons on stewardship, so many great lessons on, stewardship and how to take what God has given you and, multiply it and use it, how to be responsible for it, right? Now, talents, if you don't know, talents are an actual measure of money, right? It is money. And a talent is a measure of money. And so the parable itself speaks directly about money, but that money is also representative of other resources that the Lord gives us. So in this parable, there are three servants that are given different amounts of money, which that is also interesting because when you read it, it says that the master gave it to them according to their ability. Let that breathe for a minute, okay? He gave them according to their ability. So, whatever they had been demonstrating or had been showing the master as they had been showing up for work every day, the master then decided how much he was giving them based on their ability. Okay. So, the question is, and this is a little aside from what we're talking about today, but the question is, what have you been demonstrating that you could be responsible for? As you look at, how you spend and the things that you buy and why you buy them, have you been demonstrating to the Almighty Yah that you are worthy of investing in, right? So the two who invested and multiplied, they were rewarded, okay? And the one who buried his money in fear was cast out, okay? He was cast out of the vineyard wherever they were working, which is kind of representative of being cast out of the kingdom. Because, see, in the kingdom, the culture is produce, multiply, dominate. And if you're not doing that, you can't be part of the kingdom because that's the culture. That's the nature of who we are, right? God expects growth. He doesn't expect stagnation. So if you're afraid to invest, and I know that there's a lot of people out there, okay, afraid to invest, and I understand it, but if you're afraid to invest, then you're mismanaging what he gave you. And that's just it. Okay? That's what that parable, that's one of the lessons that that parable shows us. Because how can you keep the Genesis 128 mandate if you don't? Right? You're out there, you're producing income, but you're not multiplying it. Okay? So burying your money, in a savings account, listen to me now, burying your money in a savings account with no plan to grow it is fear. That is not stewardship. I know that this can be hard to hear, but it's the truth. Burying your money in a savings account with no plan to grow it is fear. That is not stewardship. And you know that in the kingdom, we do not operate from a place of fear. Okay. The kingdom needs wealth creators, not wealth hoarders. Think about it. Why are we here? If we are a kingdom citizen, what is our purpose collectively? We are to expand the kingdom, make disciples, right? Win souls, make disciples. How do you do that? By holding on to everything that God has given you. It just doesn't work. Okay. So, whatever resources God has given you, whether it's your gifts, your talents, whether it is your intelligence, whether it is your money, whether it is various relationships that you have, and yes, you can be a hoarder of your relationships, right? If you are in relationship with someone, and I'm not talking about romantic, but it could be, right? If you're in relationship with someone and that person has these amazing gifts and talents, and you don't want to tell nobody else about them, you want to keep that person all to yourself, that's not cool. Okay. That is not kingdom. All right. Because we're wealth creators, we're connectors. We make things happen, we expand. Okay. And so it is with our money. So if you're just like, I'm not going to go out, I'm not going to invest my money, I'm just going to stockpile it all here, whether it's a savings account or whether it's under your mattress or whatever, that's not kingdom. That is not kingdom. Okay. And so that can be difficult to hear, but it's the truth. All right. You can tell me, you can let me know in the chat how you feel about that. Okay. All right. We need to be able to shift from a consumer to an investor mindset. All right. Many, and I'm speaking to women because you all know that this is who I do my work for, but this is for anyone. Okay. These concepts are for anyone. Many women, we spend years buying assets that depreciate, right? It could be cars, it could be purses, shoes, all kinds of various other luxury items. Most of the things that we buy, they depreciate, and some of them extremely quickly. Like, I know that I have bought shoes before that didn't even last a year, right? So we spend so much, we consume instead of building wealth. It is so amazing to me as I sit here and I think about it, and as I'm saying what I'm saying, like how we're not afraid to do that. Yet we're afraid to multiply our assets, but we're not afraid of throwing our money down the drain. Like, we're just not afraid of that. We go out and we do it on a daily basis. No fear in doing that. But then when it comes to something that is going to be good for us and good for the kingdom, we're afraid. That's so interesting to me, right? So, kingdom investments, and I'm sitting in my office and this light is on a timer. Excuse me. All right. Kingdom investments mean putting money into assets that multiply. So, what are some assets that can multiply? Hey, Micah, good to see you. Thank you for watching. What are some assets that can multiply? You guys put some in the chat, right? I'm going to, of course, go ahead and say some here, but I want you to put some things in the chat. What are some assets that can multiply? And I want you not only to think about money, right? But also things outside of money. What are some things that if you invest in it, you can yield a return? Okay. So, one of my favorite is real estate for so many reasons. Okay. But first and foremost, because the Bible always talks about accumulating land, or when you look at what was passed down or what was given, first of all, to the children of Israel, to the chosen, right? Remember when they came out of um, the wilderness, what was given to them? They were given land, okay? All the 12 tribes had a plot of land that they were given, okay? And then from generation to generation, what this land would be passed down, okay? So, real estate, and then there's so many different ways in which you can invest just in real estate in and of itself. However, I would not put all of my money, okay, into real estate. We got to diversify. We got to diversify. We will find that in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2, I believe. So, real estate is one way. Okay. Have you guys thought of some other ways yet? Drop them in the chat. Drop them in the chat. All right. So, real estate is one way. Businesses, you can invest in businesses. So, you can invest in startups. You can invest in businesses that have been here for a while and they just want to expand, they want to scale. You can invest in stocks. You can invest in bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, all kinds of things. You can invest in kingdom focused ventures. You can invest in other people. So there are so many ways in which we can invest in a way that yields a return. The goal here is that you want to multiply, right? And the reason that we want to accumulate assets is not because we just, again, it's not for ourselves entirely, right? Yes, we have a little something that's for us, but it's for the kingdom at large, right? I have been talking with, my clients about when you invest and when you're multiplying, it's not just for you, that we go through these seasons, right? There are seasons where everything is good, and then there are seasons when there's not. Kind of reminds you like of the story of Joseph, right? When they had the 7 years of plenty and then the 7 years of famine. And because Joseph had vision, right? Had the foresight to be like, okay, look, while things are good, let us make sure that we're putting aside, because there's going to come a time when things will not be so good. Because he had that foresight, not only were the people there were fine during the famine, but they were also able to help neighbors, right? And as kingdom citizens, that's what we're supposed to be able to do too. All right. When there are downturns in the economy, excuse me, can I get my words together? When there are downturns in the economy, when there are, and maybe it's not even the economy as a whole, maybe it's just something that a community is going through, or maybe it's just something that your neighbor is going through, okay? And you can help. That's the position that we're supposed to be in. That's why we want to multiply. So when I say multiplying for kingdom impact, that's what I'm talking about, right? When we talk about winning souls and making disciples, it's not just about going around and spewing off Bible verses. That's not going to, you might impress somebody for a little bit with your knowledge, right? But that's not all that it's going to take to help me see the love of God, right? I need to see how that plays out in your day-to-day life. I need to see that, if you say that this God loves me, how do you show me that, right? So in the times when I need him the most, will you be the person that allows for God to use you, right? So sorry, I have to plug in. Saw my battery going low. All right. So this is why we multiply, right? So my question to you is this: are you living for the moment, or are you building for generations? Are you living for the moment, or are you building for generations? Hey, Conan, good to see you. And hey, Jay, good to see you as well. Are you living for the moment, or are you building for generations? See, a lot of us get caught up in just living for the moment. All we care about is what we can enjoy today. We're not thinking about um, family around us, let alone, the family that's coming behind us, right? And so, as kingdom citizens, we must be building also for the generations that are coming behind us. I was reading something in the Bible today, and it was about David, King David. And, he had his son Solomon, who was the one who succeeded him succeeded him on the throne after King David, um, got sick and passed. So, but what was interesting is, King David had been talking about you know, building the temple, rebuilding the temple. And God had told David, well, you're not going to be the one who builds the temple because you've got blood on your hands. Okay. And I'm not here, this is not a Bible study, so I'm not going to dive deep into that. But he says, but your son is going to be the one who builds the temple because he, is peace. He has peace. He has, he represents peace. He represents rest, all of these good things. So your son is going to be the one who builds a temple. Now, David could have been like, you know what? All right. You know what I'm saying? And just stopped whatever he was doing. But David had continued to prepare. He had continued to ensure that the materials that they needed, the money that was needed, the items, everything that was needed for that temple, the plans, all of that. He prepared all of that. And then at the due moment, he turned all that over to his son, right? Some of us are so selfish that we feel like, okay, God gave me this idea or whatever. I'm going to try to get it all done while I'm here, right? And we will not pass anything on. And then the project stops right there, right? Because nobody can access what you were thinking, what the project was. Like nobody can continue it. And I'm so glad that King David didn't have that attitude, right? That he understood that he was building for generations. He understood that. And so when the time came to turn things over to Solomon, like Solomon didn't listen, Solomon didn't have to raise money. He didn't have to do anything but just carry out the plans because his father had ensured he would have everything that he needed. Right? He supported. Absolutely. He made sure he had everything that he needed. So we likewise have to do the same thing. We must set up the generations coming behind us so that all they have to do is just walk in it, right? Continue to carry out the plans, right? And whatever other plans that God has given them. That's the way that we need to leave this earth. But too many of us are not leaving the earth that way. Too many of us are leaving the earth having left nothing to the generations behind us but debt and grief. Okay. I pray that that's not your legacy. I pray that that's not my legacy, right? So, how do we develop a long term kingdom investment plan? How do we develop a long term kingdom investment plan? Well, first of all, you have to know what you're building for, right? So that entails, goals, objectives, and things that are in alignment with what God called you to do. Like you have to know that because if you don't know what the destination is, again, King David, he knew, okay, the temple needed to be built. Okay. If he was just walking around like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, right? He wouldn't have been able. Y'all gonna have to excuse this darn light because I'm not moving around in the office. It thinks I'm not. It thinks that I'm not in here. Anyway, um, so there was goals. There were goals. There were objectives. There was a blueprint. Okay, for this temple. So the same for us. There has to be goals. There have to be objectives. There has to be a blueprint. Right? You can't do anything really without it. If you try to do stuff without it, you're not going to accomplish much. Okay, so now you have goals. You have investment. I mean, you have your goals and objectives, right? Now you have to identify what investment vehicles you're going to use to achieve those goals. Is it stocks, real estate, business, precious metals, high yield accounts, bonds, crypto, um, uh, REITs, whatever? It's a multiplicity of them. Okay, but you choose your investment vehicles based on your goals and objectives, based on the timing, right? At what point do we want this to come to fruition? Is it 7 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years, 3 years, 8 years, right? When you have your goals, you know your time horizon and all that. Now you're better positioned to choose the right types of investments. Okay. Once you have identified, so you've got your goals and your objectives, which include your time horizon. That's one. Number two, now you can identify your investment vehicles. Number three, you're going to make sure that what you're doing is aligned with kingdom values. Okay. That actually could probably be number one, but you're going to make sure that it's aligned with kingdom values. Invest in businesses and opportunities that align with God's purpose. Don't invest just for profit, right? You may have a great opportunity come before you. Somebody want to give you this land and say, hey, I'll give you this whole sidewalk of properties and I'm going to give it to you for $1. But what's on that, property is a liquor store and all kinds of things that are not in alignment with God's purpose, right? So unless you're going to shut all that down and do something new, that's probably not what you want to be invested in, right? Or if somebody comes to you and say, hey, I want you to partner with me in this business. We're going to make 30,000 a month or 50,000 a month or 100,000 a month or whatever. But that business is not of God. It is not in alignment with God's purpose. You're just going to be doing it because you see the dollar signs. As a kingdom citizen, you better not go that route. You better not go that route. Okay? It will not last. It will blow up in your face at some point. Initially, you might think you doing right, and getting away with it, but it won't last. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're aligned with kingdom values. And then you want to make sure that as you're multiplying, that you're also planning for the transfer of wealth. Okay. This is what I'm talking about for generations coming behind you. David was prepared to transfer all that had been done to his son. So estate planning, trust, wills. And listen, a will is, if you have a will, great, but it doesn't stop there and it's not enough. Okay. Because a will not necessarily protect your assets from probate. All right. So you want to make sure that you have the proper estate planning in place. Do you have your power of attorneys for your finances, for your health? Do you have those things in place? Right. So you want to make sure, in other words, that your wealth outlives you, is going to take care of the generations coming behind you, but they're also, equipped and trained, and they understand because you trained them before you left here that they're to continue multiplying that wealth because it's all about winning souls and making disciples, right? Yes, make sure your family's good, but also it's about winning souls. It's about making disciples. It's about having kingdom impact. Okay. All right. Let me check the chat, see if there are any questions. All right, I don't see any questions or anything. So let's keep moving. I want to give you guys some practical application and we're going to get out of here. All right. So first, what are your goals? What you're going to do is write down your goals. You're going to pray first, actually. Number one, pray first, because as kingdom citizens, we don't just come up with what we want to do. It's what does God want to do through you? What does God want to do through me? Okay. So pray first, seek God, right? Seek the will of God. Then number two, develop your plan, develop your investment plan. Identify one new investment opportunity to explore this month. You don't have to start investing yet, right? And just explore a new investment opportunity. Go learn about it. Get some information on it, right? See if it's going to be something that is useful for the plan that God is giving you. Next, audit your spending versus investing ratio. Are you spending more on wants that depreciate than you are investing in wealth building assets? Listen, wealthy people are always thinking about what's the next asset they can accumulate. They're not thinking about, all this other stuff that we think about on a daily basis. Oh, let me get a new car. Let me get a, new purse, new shoes, new this, new that. Now, do they have that stuff? Yes. But those, and I'm not talking about, celebrities and people who don't know what to do with their money either. I'm talking about truly wealthy people. They buy that stuff not out of their active income. They buy that stuff out of the interest that they have accumulated from investing. Yeah. Okay. You better believe they not swimming in, anyway, swimming in debt that they can't take care of, or that they've consumed all this stuff and now they have nothing left for that's that's not how they operate. All right. So look at your spending. Are you spending more on your wants than you're investing in wealth building assets? And then adjust accordingly. I know one of the things that I like to do is if I have this notion like, oh, let me go to Cold Stone ice cream. Y'all know I love ice cream. For those of you who know me, I love ice cream. Let me go to Cold Stone ice cream. And I might say to myself, you know what? Before you go to Cold Stone ice cream and spend that $15 or whatever it is, right? Can you take 15 and invest it? Because if you can't do that, then you can't go, right? Now that's something that I'll put in place for me, right? So how are you making sure that you are investing more than you are spending on things that depreciate? Okay. All right. So that is practical application, I believe, number 3. So number 4, begin your legacy plan. All right. Write down who and what you want your wealth to impact after you're gone. Children, spouse, a certain community of believers, a business, or whatever that is going to further the work of God, right? Write that down. Who and what. And then after you write down who and what, then later on you want to begin to write down how do I want to impact them? How much do I want to leave to them? Those types of things. All right. So that's some practical application for you all. Remember, pray, seek God's will. Number 1, develop your goals. Number 2, the investment plan. Number 3, audit your spending versus your investing ratio. Number 4, number 5, begin your legacy plan. Okay. Begin your legacy plan. That's where you're going to write down who and what you want to leave your wealth to. All right. I hope that this has been helpful for you all today. If you want to learn how to invest and build legacy with wealth God's way, then I want you to join this month's free webinar on wealth building through godly stewardship. We are this webinar that we do. I do a free webinar every third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. And so you can look into the notes section or the chat section, or not the chat, the show notes or in the description, and you're going to find the link to get registered for the webinar. Okay, bit.ly/stop begging webinar 25. So every month, third Tuesday of the month, we do, or I do, a free webinar. All right. Then call to action number 2. Now, if you're not sure where to start, you're hearing what I'm talking about from week to week, particularly today, and you're not sure where to start. And of course, these lights will go out again. But if you're not, I'm going to leave it the way it is because I'm wrapping up. If you're not sure where to start, then I want you to download my free Stop Begging God for Money guide. All right. 7 steps to radical godly stewardship. All right. So you're going to get 7 steps. Now, it's a free guide. Those steps, it's not going to be an in-depth, in detail thing, but it will give you these steps. You can, and give you a little bit, something practical to do for each one. And you can, take it from there. Okay. So you've got 2 free resources that you can take advantage of. Either get on the webinars every third Tuesday, register for those. And I don't see why you can't do both because they're both free, and get the my free guide. Okay. Both of the links for those are in the description. So as I close, here's what I want to say. Kingdom wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how well you steward what you have. That is the bottom line. People always think, I need to go out and make more. I need to go out and make more. No, you need to better steward what you already have. When you begin to steward better what you already have, then more will come. Okay. Stop waiting for some type of financial breakthrough or this, lump sum of money that at some point in your life, you don't even know where it's coming from. You just know at some point in my life, I'm going to get a lump sum, right? Or there are so many of us, a tax season now. And so every year we're like, when I get this lump sum, I'm going to do, and you never do, right? So it's not about getting the lump sums. It's not about increasing what you make. It's about how well you steward what you already have. All right. Start investing wisely so that your wealth can work not only for you, but for generations to come. All right. So I pray, hey, Rudy, good to see you. Good to see you. So I pray that this has been helpful to you today. We'll be back next Thursday with another episode of the Radical Godly Stewardship Podcast. Until then, grab those free resources, okay? And start becoming a better steward today. All right? God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.